I'm Megan.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Erica.
And this is the Her Podcast. Today on the podcast, we are speaking with Misha, the founder, sole creator, and holistic medical esthetician of Be Aligned Studios. Misha's passion for glowing skin is just as strong as her passion for a glowing soul. Her approach is different from most medical aesthetic services as she brings her raw, holistic, and medical aesthetic practices to light. Her Métis ancestry and spiritual background has influenced her practices, and it is a very unique part of her treatments. Misha, we are so excited to speak with you today. Let's get into it.
I feel like there's not a moment where I'm not weird.
Oh, well, then you're in good company.
Yeah.
Great.
Right? You're in great company.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even ask you guys are weird too, but
No,
we're so weird.
100% weird. We're so weird that we all got ready in our own way for you this morning.
I love that.
We did.
Right? Yeah. We were all prepped and ready to go. We were like, skin needs to be glowing.
Right? Gotta look cool.
I've also, on the way in, I was like reflecting on like how we were going to sit down with you today. And I was like, I don't mean this to disrespect any of our other guests. I don't. But I was like, this was the first one where I was like kind of nervous. And I was like, oh, like fangirling a little. Cause I was like I'm very excited to sit with you. And we just all love what you're doing. And so it was like, and I think a lot of our other guests we've had connect, like either some type of relationship with them or some kind of like working relationship.
Can I just stalk you on Instagram?
Yeah. Well, that's literally what happened.
I think what happened, I don't know if it was the same for you, Megan, but I think for me, it was Erica all of a sudden came up to me and she was like, I found this account. I found this girl and like, you need to check her out. And I was like, okay, like tell me about this person. And then did she tell all of us?
I don't know
did you follow
how
her?
I found you, but then I like booked in.
No, it was definitely all of us then.
Yeah.
I think.
It was meant to be. We're
great.
just collectively obsessed with you, but not in a creepy way.
in a good way.
In a good way. In a good way.
Like it might be a little weird.
I'm like, oh, it's not weird.
But I actually think that like you probably get that from a lot of people.
You know what? It's really weird because I'm not used to it still. And even in like public places, people come up. And like last night we were at an event and somebody was like, it's like meeting a celebrity. And I'm very socially awkward. So I was like sweating and like trying to breathe it out. I'm like, and then I hug everyone without asking if it's okay. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And that makes me feel like calmer and better.
Yeah.
But it's still weird. It still weirds me out a little. Like, not that people recognize or like enjoy me. I think it's more self-validation thing where I'm still like, don't know if I'm not up here in my head. And I'm like middle ground, still working my way up.
Yeah. Which is so interesting because of how much you project, right? Like what you talk about on social media. And I think like, I don't know what that looks like for you in what you believe for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Versus like what you're posting, right? And what you're probably working through as a journey of like really owning inside of yourself. Because I know when I come to your account, I'm so motivated, right? And I'm like, look at this girl, like what she's posting and encouraging us all to do and like owning our space, right? And so what has that journey looked like for you? And maybe did you come from a place and maybe still in a place of...
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. You hit me with a heavy one. Okay.
I know we're like, we're going to just push you off the edge.
Diving in. Yeah. Honestly, growing up, I was super self-conscious and I was always like, in my mind, I was like the chubbier girl. And even like some mom's comments towards me was like not kind. And then it kind of like led on into my 20s. And then it was like, I started getting into things that were very like addictive and like had bad eating disorders. And then I thought bodybuilding would be a good idea. And that was not a good idea because that just fed that body dysmorphia 20 billion times over. And then it was a lot of like mental health came with that. A lot of bad relationships and great learners. And I'm super grateful for everything I've been through and like that got me here to this point. But like it was rough. And I think I project what I want people to feel for themselves so that they don't have to feel what I went through, especially my younger clientele and my younger people that have me and follow me on Instagram and talk to me. I just want them to understand that somebody's went through it, but I don't want to have to force people into experiencing that to get out to be really projecting a good person, I guess.
Well, and this is interesting because I shared it yesterday with them, so they've already heard this, but I recently heard a quote, and it was, you're most capable of like helping the person you used to be.
Yeah.
Right. And like just hearing that, that's what's resonating with me is you're like, I went through this. So how do I protect, or not even protect, but how do I come alongside and hopefully give hope or something to someone else. Right.
Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing is like just explaining to people that like, it's not all lovely and amazing and life isn't this thing where you don't have ups and downs and what the am I doing and I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing every single day when I wake up.
Totally.
But no one does.
Yeah.
Like really.
Right. And it's like I want to express that to people and make them feel comfortable with that, knowing that no one else knows what's going on. And you don't know what's going on in somebody's head. So it's also like I project a lot of like be kind and understand that people are going through things because you like, and that's the funny thing is I'll tell people I'm super socially awkward and like I'll do anything to get out of a social event.
Well, it's totally got you here then.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't make it, guys.
Literally.
I'm sick.
We got you.
And I feel honored.
Yeah. And it's like, it takes me a lot to do that. But then it's like, people think I'm this most like confident, outgoing person. And I'm like, no, but that it's what I'm working towards and what I feel. And I'm at the verge of it. But I want people to just know that they don't have to go through the tough stuff and they can just get there and start being what they want to be and do what they want to do and have the confidence and not to project their ideals onto people, because I don't want to be perfect. I don't want to be somebody's like idol or pedestal person, because just like my mom says, like the pedestal will crumble one day and then you'll be lost and you know you were up here and that's all you ever felt. But really, everyone's on the same ground. We walk on the same ground. And I say that all the time to people. It's like,
I love that.
Yeah. It's like,
That's powerful.
Right.
That's a powerful image.
yeah. And like, I've made it like a little quote in my studio, in my room, and it just writes down, because I hear a lot in my treatment room and I love it and I'm thankful for it. But it's one of those things where you just can't judge people and you can't expect people to act a different way or expect them to deal with things the same that you're dealing with them. And you can't have expectations for people. And you have to just realize we're all on the same level. No matter how much money you make or what you do or how successful you are, it doesn't matter in the end, because we got time, but that's all we got.
Yeah.
She's dropping it all.
No, I'm literally, it's
I
so
think,
good.
like, I was so drawn to you because you're such an authentic soul.
Thank you.
And I think that you aren't afraid to share where you're at and share your experiences. And that's what really brings people together. And I think that's why so many people are just drawn to you, because you literally, like, I mean, Instagram can be this place of comparison and it, you know, really kind of can be toxic. But it can also be uplifting and connecting. And I think, like I said to the girls the other day, you literally just like shine through, like you can feel you through it. And that's really special. And I think that's why people are so drawn to you. But I also know that you're going to do huge, like you're already doing huge things, but like I just see this like for you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think we all, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? It's so weird because every time somebody says that to me, even like it can be like my partner or my parents, and they'll be like, you are doing the most amazing job. And you have that like self-sabotage inside.
Yes.
Where you're like, no, I'm not. And you like try to argue with people.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no, I'm not at that level. And then hearing that repeatedly and like having it affirm all of the time is now like slowly I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? We're doing great. Like we're doing things.
Yeah.
And it's going to get there and it's okay. And I want to share that whole space of it all with people.
Well, and I think what you just hit on is, I think society and probably, and maybe now this new era of life we're in is where people are like owning their success or owning their talents. But I really feel like growing up, it was like if someone said you were pretty, you're like, oh no, I'm not. No,
You
or
had to
like,
brush it
you're
off.
so smart. You'd be like, no, I'm like so dumb, and let me like show you how I'm dumb, instead of just being like, hey, yeah, thank you so much. And so it's hard to step into and be like, yes, I am being successful, because
Right.
I think society has told us, well, now you're bragging, or now you're being pompous, or come on, who are you?
Yeah.
Like
you
your
have to-
success doesn't look like this success, so clearly it's not.
You have to learn to accept compliments. It's so uncomfortable. But I started doing this a few years ago, and now I say that to my friends. Like, just say thank you.
Yeah.
Just say thank you.
Right.
I know it feels weird, but like, don't. And I also say, like, never hang on to a compliment. Like, compliment people left, right, and center, right? Like, it's so
Kindness is free.
Yes. And then you just never know, right? Like, and I mean, give compliments and receive them. Give and receive.
Yeah, that was like one of the lessons my mom actually taught me. This was a few years ago, and her lessons are always so hard to hear. Oh my gosh. She like hits you with the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Like even when you think you're like already like done, she's just like,
We're going
dives in
further.
for more. And I'm like, no wonder I'm the way I am.
Sidebar, what does your mom do?
So she actually is an RMT. She owned a spa for 19 years. Her list of like to-dos and certifications is so long I couldn't even put it on a website.
Okay. I just was like, I wanted some like...
Yeah, and she does like business life coach. I don't even know how to like...
She's
talk
intuitive,
about her.
correct?
Yeah. So she finally just owned up and told everyone she does like mediumship work.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
I follow her on Instagram too.
Yeah, she's a wild card.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the one lesson, and she told me, she's like, you can never actually give if you can't properly receive, and you can never receive if you can't give.
Oh my gosh. Someone just said this to me.
And it's hard to hear.
Yes.
I heard a version of that at a retreat that I was at, and it was very similar, but I actually posted this on my Instagram back to somebody's question today. When you're holding on so tight to things, you can't receive anything.
No.
Right? You have to open up to give.
Yeah.
Like, and to receive. And that, like, visual for me, like, they said to me, like, you can't see me right now, but my fists are closed, and then you open it up. Like, you're holding on so tight, but you have to open it up. Otherwise, you're never going to receive.
Right?
Right? So, like, ugh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So it makes sense, because when you think about when somebody gives you a compliment, you always try to, like, re-compliment back to, like, make sure it's okay.
Right.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
Or, like, the word sorry.
Ugh. Yes.
We use that, especially in Canada. I feel like we use that
Yeah.
word way too much.
Yeah.
Like, too flippantly.
It is, like, so bad. And, like, in the last year, I, like, cut it out of my vocabulary. And now I, like, call whenever, like, my clients are like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, you're not. It's okay. It's okay. You're here now. We're good. We have time.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. There's nothing to apologize for.
Yeah.
Like, you're good. Own your space.
And let's put the importance back on when you actually have to say sorry,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Right? Like, if you just say it all the time,
Where's the value?
where's the value? But
Yeah.
when you can actually look at someone and actually
Genuinely.
say, I've done something, so I am sorry, or whatever.
Right? Yeah, the ownership of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting.
We say a lot of words too much.
Should.
I try to say, I try to not say love as much. Like, I do say it all the time, but love is one that I try to be like, no, I really like this.
Yeah.
So that my love is like
Power
deeper,
word.
powerful. And y'all hear me on my stories. I'll be like, I love this sweater. And I do. Okay.
But we throw certain words around.
Too much.
Right?
Probably.
And it does detract the value of it.
So I'd love to know your journey of how you jumped into medical aesthetics, how you got into aesthetics, and, this word skin healer that you have in your Instagram bio. I'm like, I feel like you're a step further than just, aesthetics and bringing in that holistic approach. So where did you start, and where are you sort of currently at, and what does that mean?
Yeah. So I was super fortunate. So with my mom owning a spa, they did skin, they did body, they did all that kind of stuff. So I learned at a really young age about stuff like that. And then I think like I did like a little facial when I was like ending high school. She had me working in her spa for her doing like mani-pedi stuff. And then I did a facial one day and I was like, this was great, but I don't want to do what my mom does. So I'm going to go to university and pretend I like university. And that worked out really well.
I pretended
What
I
were
liked
you-
university for a
What
little
were
bit
you
too.
in for?
So I actually wanted to go in for psychiatry because I love like
Okay, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah, see, right? Everyone's always like, oh yeah, I get it.
But I feel like holistic psychiatry is that a thing?
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
So then that kind of did not happen. And then I kind of ran away from it for a while. And then I got offered to work with somebody in the industry again, and I took it. I learned a lot, and I was super grateful for the experience. And then I slowly got offered another job, and then I went back into the treatment room, and it was very interesting. It taught me a lot. I went through a lot in that 2 years that I was there, both mentally, everything. It was interesting.
You were back in the treatment room. What does that mean? Back in the treatment room doing
Services.
Okay.
So I was doing like laser and hydrofacials and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I had always wanted to do like a facial of some sort. I loved facial like manipulation and massage, and I knew growing up that my hands were very like healing hands, and they're very weird. My hands are like, they look like they're 90 years old. Like
you hold
they
all
look
everybody's
so
energy.
old. Like
Look at that.
they're old looking.
Because you're holding all the energy.
So I'm like, I need to use them for something. And touch was always like something that was very important to me. And I never knew that was like my love language was a physical. That's why I hug people, because I need to know that connection is there. So then I slowly actually decided that I wanted to start a business somehow, and I wanted my mom to be a part of it. So we looked for places throughout, and then it never worked out. And then finally I ended up having to go on a stress leave from the job I was at, and then kind of went down not a good path, but an understanding path that I learned a lot about myself and what I need in life and all of those things. And then I decided that the studio needed to be open, and I had no clue what that even looked like. I didn't even know what my treatments were going to be. I didn't have any money, so I didn't even know what I could afford. And I was just like, okay, well, we found this space, and here we go. And I know
was
this
this
is
in
going to happen.
Saskatoon? Like, did you grow up in Saskatoon? Is this where the studio was?
The studio, my mom's studio was actually in Kindersley, Saskatchewan. And then I grew up around Kindersley, Saskatchewan.
Why are you
laughing?
You guys, so I'm from Crawford, Saskatchewan. Nothing against Crawford. It's an interesting town to grow up in, and I learned a lot there.
It's a very small town.
A very small town. I'm also Indigenous, and I didn't feel brave enough to even say that there, because there's a lot of stigmatism against Indigenous people. And
That would have been really hard.
yeah, it was weird. I didn't know that I had like an identity crisis until like literally like 4 years ago. And I was like, I am Métis. Like, this is great. I love what I am. But also like, why did I think I hated myself for so long because of what I am?
Yeah.
Well, and what did that look like for you? Figuring that out. Like, you said the word identity crisis,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, when did you have that? Like, did you have an aha moment? Did someone say something to you? Was it what was going on culturally?
Yeah, I think it was like with everything that happened with all of the residential stuff, you just really realized like everything can be so pushed under and shoved under a blanket and made okay, but is it really ever okay? Because the blanket's going to come off one day.
Yes.
Or there's going to be holes, or somebody's going to tear it or something, and then everything's going to go into shambles. And it really did. And I think like learning about that and learning like, I'm so grateful that like my grandpa never went to a residential school, because you don't even know if you could have existed. And then that like plays through your head, and it's the strangest feeling.
That would be wild.
Yes.
Do we spend time
Sorry, I
together?
missed that. Wild.
You're like, I'll tap in
I'm
now.
like, oh,
Telepathy.
delayed.
But totally.
So-
And growing up in a small town is like a thing in itself,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. Like I didn't know that being like a facialist was even like a thing either. I thought it was like nurses,
Teachers.
teachers.
Or lawyers.
Yeah, like something very like professional, where like it's still a profession. I'm a professional person, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But it was weird to have like a label like that. So I never even knew what to call myself. And then to get into the skin healer thing, it's just like I felt like everything was very surface level in the industry that I'm in, which I am not surface level. So I needed something to describe myself to make people understand what I do. And it's not about making somebody look pretty and making their skin glowy and fresh. It's about making them understand that even in every stage where they feel like they're not themselves, they are themselves.
Wow.
And they need to learn to love that. And I'm there to help them do it. But I want them to know that there's never an end goal. Like, goals are not a thing. You can have a target, you can hit your target, but then you keep going.
I love that you said that. I've always struggled with goals.
Yeah.
I've always struggled with goals.
Well, and I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and he was talking about goals, and he was talking about his life, and he was like, so many people view goals like when I get the car,
Yeah.
right? And he's like, you have to stop thinking about it like that and be like and he was using the word goals, but he's like, your life should be the goal. Like, the goal should be like, are you living? Are you loving?
Right.
Have you done what matters?
Right.
And if the car comes, great. And if money to take your family on a trip comes, great.
Yeah.
But when you make these things your goals, then you get there and there's only a certain amount of time where you're excited about it, and then you just move on.
Yeah.
If you're even excited about it by the time
Yes.
you get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've struggled with too. And to me, like, everything's ebbs and flows. Everything's fluid. I'm not black and white. I'm very gray. So it's hard for me, and structure is hard for me. So to have this goal that you're like, okay, here's the goal, and then you have to work backwards. I'm just like, ugh.
Right.
That's so hard for me.
It feels very strict. And then if you don't make your goal, you think you're a terrible human who needs more time or who needs more. And it's just like,
well, we only find value in hitting the goal, right? And you're literally saying there's value in getting to wherever you're going. You're valuable from the beginning, not when you get somewhere. Value it doesn't come from a destination. It comes like all the way along on the journey.
You're born valuable.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. And I think it's taken away often. I think people have that taken away from them, especially now that there's so many ideals of how you should look and what you should wear and what you should do and how you should act in every situation. And I think like learning that and teaching people that they can just do whatever the fuck they want and be whoever they want and wear whatever they want in any situation is like the best thing in the world.
Being in the beauty industry and then having your values and your outlook, like how do you find what's challenging about that? Hey friends, Megan here. As a busy and sometimes overwhelmed entrepreneur, I know that try as I might, I cannot do it all. Running a business also means creating endless amounts of content and managing multiple social media channels. And that, my friends, is a full-time job in itself. Enter Carousel Media Management. Long before we became co-hosts on this podcast, I've been working with Eric and CJ through Carousel for business support, strategy, and content creation, and they have made a huge impact on the way I run my socials. Not only are they your unofficial hype girls, they offer a range of services suited to your business's individual needs. Need support with figuring out your content pillars, niche, layouts, or branding? They offer one-on-one social media training and mentorship to help you get super clear on your hows and whys. Can't seem to find the time or energy to create the content you need to market your business? Eric and CJ will work with you to create content through branded photo shoots, reels, and graphics. Working with Carousel Media Management was one of the best decisions I've made in my business. Not only are CJ and Erica experts in their field, they truly care about the businesses they work with and the people behind them. If you need support and want to work with women who lift you up, get excited alongside you, and truly want the best for you and your business, Carousel Media Management is your team. Visit them on Instagram at Carousel Media Management. That's CAROUSELMEDIAMGMT, where they share valuable tips for navigating the ever-changing algorithm, and book a discovery call. I promise you'll be glad you did.
I think there's this like thing where people need to feel like they're doing so much for themselves. And I also think that being a facialist and being working on skin, people think you need to be perfect all the time and you need to have perfect skin all the time and you need to look a certain way. And I think I've broken that barrier pretty aggressively with shaving my head, with not always wearing makeup, with promoting to do whatever you want. If you want to wear makeup, cool. If you don't, then don't. Like it's okay. But then also recently I just made the decision to not do any more injectables. And I love injectables. I think they're great. I know amazing injectors in the city and outside of the city, and it's a fabulous thing. And for me, it was a crutch. And I was viewing myself as this person that needed to not show emotion. I needed to have super smooth skin that looked like it couldn't move. And I needed to look like I could go on a magazine at any point because that's the only way I'll get clients.
Okay, so sorry. So you are choosing to stop. Did you do injectables, or are you saying you're like, I'm now all of it? Like I won't get it and I won't give it.
So I never got to do them.
Oh, okay.
But I got injectables since I was 21.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was a baby.
So I go back and forth. Like I've never had injectables, but like I'm going to turn 40 right away. And that's just kind of a thing that I feel like is so normalized now. But my girlfriend, again, you have my core group of friends we're all turning 40 next year, has had any. And I've kind of thought like, you know, you never know, but I see so many young girls getting them now. And I'm kind of like, but why? Like, what is the point?
Right. And that's what I think. I think aging is the most beautiful thing we can ever do. And like,
and we don't put enough emphasis on aging, like physical wisdom in aging, physical, the beauty of aging, like, right? Instead of looking at a line and being like, oh, I need to get rid of that, being like, wow, like that's brought wisdom and life and experience. Yeah,
it's so cool.
I watched a movie. Oh my gosh. Oh, The Guardian. Does anyone remember that, with Ashton Kutcher and the guy from...
Oh, Kevin Costner.
Yes, Kevin Costner.
I was going to be like, I'm really excited. Yes. That is, I used to call him my old man crush. When I turned 25, my friend Lindsay made me a mix CD.
What is the show everyone is watching? Yellowstone.
And he was the cover.
But this is the funny thing, because this has stuck out to me. In that movie, there's a scene, and they're sitting at a bar, and the bartender's like a older woman, and they're talking about age, because he's like, I'm getting old and I've got to get out of the game. And she's like, she says this thing, and I'm not going to get it right, but she talks about her face being weathered, and she's like, I know it's because I sat under 1,000 suns.
Wow.
And to this day, that has stuck with me, that it was like such a moment of like watching it and being like, it's like this moment of being like, I can look in the mirror and be like, I've lived.
Yeah.
And I haven't. And which is silly. It's so silly, because it's like, they're just talking about, it has nothing to do with skincare, but it was like...
No, but it's impactful.
Yes!
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, back to... I was just distracted. But you're no longer doing injectables.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's what we were talking about.
And like skin healing, too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like getting deeper into what's going on.
It was very much like... I used to get it for my migraines, which I understood, but then also I needed to dig deep and realize why I was getting such severe migraines instead of just crutching it all the time.
What does that journey look like for you? Because I know, if you follow her on Instagram, you talk about gut health, and you talk about, what you're putting into your body and how important that is for your skin and your soul.
I'm like, can you post every meal that you ever make? Like every dressing, every recipe. I'm like, I'm here, but what is she eating? What is she putting in there? I'm like, yes!
So good.
I had a really weird health journey, and it started when I was like younger. I wasn't eating a ton, and then I remember I ate soda crackers, 2 pieces of cheese, and 2 pieces of turkey bacon, and that was like my diet. So super healthy, super great.
Yeah.
Wanted to faint most of the time.
Oh goodness.
So, and then went into bodybuilding, and then learned that was not the course I should have taken, and I thought I would love myself more if I got to this like point where I could be at a place half in a bikini and people would accept me because I was fit and I looked good and I had a nice tan and I had long hair, and then I just ruined my gut.
Yeah.
And I ruined my health. And the latest thing was 2.5 years ago or something like that now. I was admitted to the hospital with a severe kidney infection, so bad that they couldn't find the infection because it was just like expanding so big. And then they kept me there for 5 days, and I was on so many antibiotics and pain meds, and then also blood thinners and anything you could want to be on in the hospital. They pretty much had me on. And then one of the doctors came up to me and said, and I was in like the bulking phase of working out. Like I was still like, we would lift insane amount of weight. Like I was like hack squatting like 800 pounds and it was insane. And I removed all that from my social media because I'm like, that was such a part of me that I'm glad I learned it all, but also I don't know who I was even trying to be at that point. So that was really bad. And he looked at me and he said, if you weren't constantly in pain, you probably would have noticed this a lot earlier. And I just took a step back and was like, that's all I'm doing is constantly putting my body in fatigue, in pain, eating food I don't even like, and like chugging protein shakes.
Yeah. And for what?
Yeah. And for what? An aesthetic to look a certain way? Like, and for who? Not me, because I wasn't feeling good. I didn't like the way I felt in my clothes.
It's wild to have that journey where you all of a sudden come to this understanding of like what actually nourishes my body.
Yeah.
Right? Like what actually feeds me and heals me and makes my cells and everything inside of me like light up and function well, right? Because if you look at it from a beauty standard, that's a completely different way to sort of eat or do nutrition. But if you look at it a way of how do I function best, like even our brain, right? Like healthy fats and like gut health, right? Like not all the sugars, right? And things that are just taking away from who you actually were created to be and want to be, probably.
Yeah. So I was eating food that was super processed and super high protein, and all of the lovely advertising that they had on everything, and the packaging looks pretty. And then one day it just finally hit me, and I was walking up my condo stairs after getting out of the hospital, and I couldn't even walk up the stairs. I was so like exhausted and tired, and I had to take a break. And I remember, I can feel I'm gonna like cry.
Okay. Take a minute.
It's all good. We cry all the time on that. We cried yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
2 of us cried yesterday. So
I always told myself, I was like, I'm not a crier, but oh my gosh, I cry all the time.
You gotta let that
feels
emotion
great,
out.
right?
That's what I tell my son all the time.
Well, this is the thing, though. When, and I'm not going to know. I can't quote studies, and I should know. But, you know, they're like, when...
She's a doctor.
Welcome to my office. Look at the stamps.
I love it.
I was, like, ready to say
it's
something.
My passion. I'm good.
Listen up. So there's an hormonal and an actual release in your body when you cry.
Yeah.
Like, that is why, like, when you have a good cry and then you go to sleep.
Oh my gosh,
so
nothing
good.
better.
And you will say to, you've probably said it, I need a good cry.
Yeah.
Because it actually releases whatever it releases.
And tension.
Fact check. But and so I think crying has always been equated to weakness.
Right.
But it's actually so strong because you're choosing to allow your emotions to process, and you're choosing, I don't want to keep this inside. Let's let it out.
right.
Yeah.
And that's like, you can see when somebody's holding in.
Oh yeah. Energy tells you everything.
Right. And you're just like, oh, they're going to explode.
Oh,
But
honey, I
also-
see it coming.
You're like pushing the tissue over. You're like,
I'm a stand over
That's
here.
me in my treatment room when I'm like handing them a Kleenex box. I'm like, do you want it or no? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, take it.
Just
it's okay.
hold it.
cute.
She blots your tears as she like does all the other.
It's okay. We're good here. We're good. So yeah, the gut health has been interesting and a lot. And that's why I'm super passionate about people understanding that the food we're eating is not what our body needs. And like, our body tells us, like, we shouldn't be bloated. We shouldn't have breakouts all over our body. We shouldn't be getting rashes from our food. So like, paying attention to what is in your food, because like, I literally ate a bowl of edamame beans and I didn't know there were soybeans. Turns out soy is one of those foods I cannot have right now. I woke up the next day and I felt like I had been hit by a truck. And I was just like, I was so like arrogant with myself, just walking and grabbing whatever I wanted. Didn't read even the packaging to know what was in it. Just ate it thinking I'm good.
It's green.
Yeah. And my body was just like, absolutely not. But I kept eating it. And
Well,
I'm like,
do you find as you go along on the journey that you can be more aware,
oh yeah.
right? So like before you're eating McDonald's and fast food and all this stuff and you're like, why do I feel like crap? I have no idea. But I find when you start cutting out that stuff and then you eat edamame beans, right? And you're like, oh,
Right.
that felt like a McDonald's for me, you know, because you've come so far.
Yeah. And that's like, I definitely have done a lot of work with food. I was terrified of food for like the longest time. Like, I wouldn't eat fruit because it was high sugar, I was told, and high carb. So couldn't eat that. So I literally ate like rice and fish and asparagus for a very long time. I was scared of blueberries. And then I remember eating my first like strawberry the one time and I felt so good. And I was like, what was I doing this whole time?
Yeah.
Just like depriving myself of joy. But like, I'm going to die when I'm 80. I've already decided. So 80 is
feel
like
the
my
same way.
great number. You know, like you pick an age and you're like, I'm good then. I know I will get where I want and be like, I'm good. We're
me
good.
now.
I'm
Yeah.
good. So it was just like, life is way too short to be so unhappy and eat food that makes you sick and not feel good about yourself. Even when you think in your head you want it so bad. It's really not worth it.
I have a really selfish question. Yeah. So obviously I've been following along and you use Symbiotica.
I love Symbiotica.
Okay. And I'm like, number one, where did you come across it? I'm in love with Shervin and I've listened to him on quite a few podcasts
Right.
and I'm like,
TSC.
it's so like, he's so phenomenal in what he's doing. And I was like, I didn't even know you could find that in Canada. And then when
She
Erica
sells
showed me,
it.
I know.
Because I was on your
Yeah.
website last night and being like, what's this? Vitamin C?
literally.
Add to cart.
I'm like, it's so good. So A, how did you find it? B, tell us a little bit about it and why it's so impactful.
I've seen tons of naturopaths in my life, and that's how we grew up. My mom is very like natural, find everything natural, don't take the pills, Misha. So of course I had to test that out in my life.
Yeah.
And I like to research everything. I'm very like good at finding things that I enjoy and that I can teach people about. And Symbiotica is one of those things. I'm like, there has to be a good vitamin line that actually has good morals, because even the capsules on the vitamins are not good for you. Some of them are great, but some are not. So it was like even that, and knowing that. And then I had a naturopath tell me, he's like, don't take the chewable like vitamins or anything that dissolves. And I was just like,
why?
Okay, why? And it has something to do with your digestion. They add something into it.
Okay.
So it can affect your digestion. And I didn't know that either, because I was like, these jubes taste great. I'm going to eat 10 of them. See how sick I get. Test that out. So like even that. And then he was like, don't be taking dissolvables, because they add that into, why do you think it dissolves? And I was just like, well, I don't know. I just thought it was a product that dissolves.
Someone told me it was nutritional, so I'm taking it.
It's a vitamin, so I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So realizing that half of the world of vitamins is very like, has a lot of fillers in there.
So much. Like what you see is not what you get. And I think when people maybe first start on their health journey, they're like, oh, great, I'm just going to go, and I'm not knocking Costco, but go to Costco and I'm just going to buy this like, big thing of jujubes. And you're like, okay, great. Like that's a great starting point. Right. But then you start to dig deeper into the ingredients and the science behind it. And you're like, okay, this has been very processed from originally what it was meant to be.
Yeah. And I have very like OCD tendencies with things. So when I go down a slope on something, then I go psycho and I'll research everything I can about it and try and read as much as I can. And I'll test it for myself before I even, like everything that I sell within our studio, I've used and I've tested, even if it's not for my skin, which no one do that. You're not supposed to do that. But I test it because I need to know what it feels like, what it, like the texture is, what the look of it's like, so I can explain it to people. Because I never want somebody to try something without understanding what it's going to do or how it's going to react to their skin and body and everything like that. And that's why Symbiotica, their morals of their company is fantastic. They're not out there trying to make billions of dollars off of people without actually giving true nutrition. That's why everything they have is pretty much liposomal, which then goes right into your system. You don't have to digest
like the little, because I've seen on your Instagram, like it's like little pouches. So is that liquid and then you just...
Yeah. Okay. And you can add them into like your water and everything, but I just slurp them up. And then actually all of their pumps are liquid too. And then they have a zinc, which is phenomenal, that has copper in it. And sometimes it makes your stomach upset, but zinc is phenomenal for you. You don't want to overtake it. It can affect you. So make sure you do your blood tests and everything like that. But also that's a hard thing, I feel like, in, I don't know if it's just Saskatchewan, where we're not as health conscious and like trying to get our blood work and trying to understand what we need to eat for our blood work and all that. It's very hard. And I feel like people will very much shame you when you go and asking questions about that kind of stuff.
You often have to step outside of the traditional medical field to be able to get those answers, right? Like I know personally I'm on my own health journey right now, and I went to my doctor and asked for blood work. Yeah. That's not what they regularly do, right? I went to a naturopath and they were like, go to your doctor and ask for this. And he's like, why do you want all these? And I was like, I'm not even going to explain it. Like, please
just check the box.
Let me have this.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't even understand why you would need that testing to find out.
Right.
Yeah. It's a journey.
Yeah. And it's like you very much have to advocate and push for yourself, which is very unfortunate. And I understand they're extremely busy people and there's lots going on in the world. So you can't be angry, because that is also what people are taught and that's their job. So it's also not holding the anger against them, but just trying to really like get your way in there and get what you need out of it. And if you can't, there's other ways to do it. But even, the medical system's very interesting to me. I feel like I have amazing friends and nurses and stuff, but a lot of the times it has made me more upset and depressed and anxious than healthy.
I want to like pivot for a hot second because I want to talk about why you shaved your head. Because it first of all,
it looks bomb,
freaking amazing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Good.
But I even I used to have really long hair. I know it's long right now, but and I put such importance on having long hair because then that made me pretty, right? And then there's this thing about like, you know, this kind of old thing that you can tell like a woman's going through like a shift when she like chops her hair off or does something crazy with her hair, because it's like it's a powerful thing. But I also believe like our hair holds energy, right? So like if it's weighing you down, you gotta cut that shit off, right? So I'm so curious why you were like, I'm gonna shave my head.
So this is so funny.
And then I watched the video of you shaving your head of your partner shaving your head.
So I have the most amazing partner. And in the past, I was told what color my hair needed to be, how long it needed to be, what I needed to look like by other partners. And I feel like my self-validation was very lost in that. And I was not myself. And then all of a sudden I started dating him. And he was just like, I don't care what you wear. I don't care what you do. I don't care what your like appearance at all is, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. He's like, I really like you for you, and that's great. And then one night we were sitting on the couch and we were watching.
How long was your hair at this point? I just need a visual.
So I think, like I feel like it was like here.
I can tell you a little past your shoulder.
Okay.
It was here.
I'm trying to like envision it.
Right. I used to have hair on my, like to my butt, and then I cut it up a little bit to probably like, I don't know, maybe my elbow, and then
you're like just 2 feet.
I know, just everyone used to like love it. They were like, oh my gosh, your hair is so nice, and everyone wanted my hair, which I also thought was weird. And people would like try and like pet your ponytail, and I was like, oh, that's also very weird. Why are you petting me? I'm not an animal. Not that you should pet other people's animals, but whatever. Anyways, so that, and then we were sitting on the couch, we were watching actually YouTube videos, which is how my partner likes to watch music. We were listening to Sinead O'Connor came on, and I don't know if you guys know who she is.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So she had shaved her head and she was bald on stage, and she was wearing like this leather jacket and like bare feet and like leggings, and I was just like, fuck, this girl's really cool. And like she looks like the most powerful human, and like nothing what you would expect like a female performer to look like. Like, where's her implants? Where's her big butt? Where's her long hair? Where is her big lips? Where is everything? And I was just like, gosh, I'm like, I wish I could go back into that age where like, I feel like women could express themselves so freely. And I feel like that's been taken away a little bit now. So that was a lot of like my headspace was like, I wonder what it would be like to just like do whatever the fuck you wanted one day. And I looked at my partner, I was like, I think I'm going to shave my head. And he was like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, do you want to sleep on it maybe? And then we can like maybe do it in the morning. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's sleep on it. We better not do it now because maybe I'll freak out. And the next day he was already up in the bathroom and had the shaver ready, and I was in the basement, and he's like, are you ready? And I was like, for what? And all of a sudden he's like, I thought we were shaving your head. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I like marched up those stairs, and I was just like, and then all of a sudden put my head over like the bathtub, and he like took a big swipe, and I instantly was like, what if my head is like an egg,
or it's like all cratery
and weird?
Oh, you're like, I don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah. So I had like an instant like panic of like, oh my gosh, people are gonna be like, what the did she do? And then instantly he was like, you can just borrow my toques. I got lots of toques. You're fine.
I love him. He's just like, it's fine.
He's so supportive.
He's like the most supportive human. Thank goodness for him. And like, I finally stood up after that, and I looked in the mirror, and I could feel like tears swelling in my eyes, and I was just like, God, like I actually feel like myself for once.
Wow.
And it was like the most amazing, incredible thing to have taken away something that society forces us to have. And as women, losing hair and having to forcibly lose your hair, not having a choice, is a big thing. You go through a lot. And after that, and when I posted my photo of myself, I didn't realize the impact that I made. I still don't realize the impacts that I make, which is really cool and also very humbling, because I love when people are like, wow, this is what you did for me. And I'm just like, whoa, I would have never thought.
But isn't that so beautiful? Like by stepping into yourself and what you needed, you really inspired or cleared or motivated or whatever it was for like who knows how many other people. Right? And like so beautiful.
Yeah, it was the coolest thing. And I had family members of women who were going through cancer treatment, and they were like, you need to follow this girl. Like, she's not going through anything, but like she shaved her head, and like, this is so cool. And I've had women like message me like saying thank you. And I'm just like, it is the turnaround. Like, thank you so much for doing what you need to do and expressing yourself how you want. But please know that like your hair doesn't have to represent you.
Yeah.
You're so much more than your hair. Like, we're not going to have hair one day, so why make it the biggest deal that we possibly can?
Yeah.
But I also learned a lot about myself, because I would walk out in public and instantly people would look at me. People would try and touch my head, which was very weird.
People are so invasive.
Oh, it was
Very intrusive.
weird. Yeah, like
Right.
a lady at the
That's the
grocery
word.
store like literally reached over and like went to touch my head, and I was just like, whoa.
Like,
I didn't
she
even know
didn't
what to say.
anything to you. She just like her hand.
Was
went
it just
out?
like so impulsive?
It was
probably?
like a reach, and I think so. And I don't get angry at people, but I just like make them understand, like, I don't know if you really want to touch my, like, I haven't washed my head in probably 2 days. Also, there's probably oil on there that you don't want on your hands, so maybe don't touch
Also, like, hi, I'm a human being.
right?
Nice to see you.
But I also was like, what a strange thing, because people don't reach out for men's bald heads.
No. It's
So-
like pregnant bellies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that also weirds me out
I-
when people do that.
Oh, I love. You always have to
was
ask
fine with
first,
it.
though.
You're like, I'm good here.
You know
I
what
have to
though?
ask.
And this is my take on it, and this won't be everyone's take on it, but I said to someone once, I was like, listen, there's so much crap in the world. There's so much crappy things and things that are happening that are not great. I said, if a stranger, and this doesn't have to be everyone's views, but I'm like, if a stranger is for 1 minute like magic, or like, oh my gosh, like,
that's cute.
oh my
That is
gosh,
cute.
right? And for a moment, it's like this pure between strangers, like, look at you. I'm like, I'm just gonna let him do it,
Yeah.
because I see a belly and I'm like, oh, there's a baby in there, and I don't touch people because I do understand, but I went into my pregnancies like that, being
That's
like,
good outlook.
I had, and there are people
To
who
each
are
their
like,
own.
maybe, and I also felt amazing pregnant. So I was like,
I didn't
who
know.
wants
Yeah.
to look at me? Who wants to touch me? Like, I was like, bring it on. But I did, that was my mindset going into it, was like, this could actually be a really cool moment for someone, or just the excitement. I had kids all the time at church. They'd like come and talk and just like talk to me and like touch
Yeah.
my belly,
Kids.
It's like, go for it, buddy. That's fine.
Aww.
Yeah, but that's not everyone's journey, and so,
Right.
And so I think about her instinctively going to touch your head, and I'm like, maybe there was like power in there, and she was
Maybe.
like, oh my gosh, like,
Drawn to it.
You walk down the street and people are just going to start.
Just, like,
maybe she
slowly
went home and
coming over.
shaved her head. Maybe she was like, hell
Can you know
yeah.
what was okay? This is really funny. So we were at Boston Pizza having a drink the one day, and this lady came up to me and was like, I love your hair. Like, I just love, like, you can rock that, and all the nice things she said. And then she left. The next like 2 weeks, my partner went for a beer there, and this lady had walked in with a shaved head.
Yes.
And I was like, fuck yeah.
Like, it was the same
fucking
woman?
Cool. Yeah.
That is so cool.
And I was like, I need to see her again so I
Yeah.
can be like, yeah, you did it. You
That's
really did
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
So it's really, and now I see people with shaved heads all over the place.
It's like once you see something, you can't
red
unsee it,
car.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like every car is red.
Yeah.
I
That's
love it.
amazing.
And I'm always like, that's the most, like, I tell everyone now, I'm like, you should shave your head at least like once and just try it.
to experience it.
Yeah.
Okay, you recently became a published author.
I did.
I want to tell everybody about that. That is so rad.
Congratulations,
It's like
by
one
the
of
way.
my dreams.
Thank you so much.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Tell us.
It was pretty, I couldn't believe it. Honestly, when I was asked to write a chapter, it was kind of like the why me, and like, why are you asking me? And like, I don't have enough like validation to do this. And that was like, all those thoughts came through. And then I was just like, okay, clearly there was a reason. So I'm just going to do it. And then I actually wrote a whole chapter, and then I erased the whole thing. And then, yeah, I was just like, I wrote like my life story and how I got to where I am and everything that happened in between. And it was great, but it just wasn't what I wanted to put out into the world to tell people like, oh, this is me. This is what I've went through. And like, it was more of a chance to be like, this is what I've learned in life so far. And I hope that you don't have to live through those lessons that I've lived through. If you can just read this and understand it and take value from it, and then switch it and do your little pivot and not go through those things. But it was scary. It's very like, my chapter is called Vulnerability Got Me Here. And it was the most terrifying thing to write, because the lessons I wrote in there were very ones I haven't really shared on social media. So it was vulnerable big time.
Everyone's got to go get the book now.
And what's it called?
Conversations over coffee.
Yes. I was literally like,
So I bought the Kindle version, which I don't have a Kindle, but my friend can. Whatever. It was like
just supporting you.
I was just like, okay, I'm doing it, but because I'm crazy. One day, but I want an actual hard copy of it.
Oh yeah,
I have some. I was gonna bring you guys one, and then I was like, "Is that weird?"
No,
my God. Okay, first we're all readers.
I love presents.
Here's my
Never
request.
Weird.
I'm requesting a signed copy.
Yes.
Okay, deal. That was like we had our book party last night.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, my social anxiousness was through the roof. I was sweating so bad.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
Really good deodorant.
Yeah, literally. Though.
There you go.
And wear black.
Yeah,
A lot
moist
of-
towelettes.
Literally, my partner was like, "Maybe we should put pads underneath it." And I'm like,
done
"Dude,
that
maybe."
before. I've
Yeah,
done that
it's
before.
a smart idea.
Yeah.
I was like,
You
it
just
could
stick
work.
them right on there.
Right?
It's like shoulder pads, but be like, whoop.
Yeah, just suck them down.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
But maxi pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're good for some stuff, guys.
Right. I do a lot of like, I very much take time before I go to events and like prep myself.
Good for you.
And I do a lot of like breath work and I do a little meditation. And then I always make sure that I have something in my hand or wear jewelry that I can kind of have as like my exit thing.
Yep.
And then I always bring a support person.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. It was something like everyone's like, well, why don't you just go alone? And I'm like, I'm not ready for that. So don't push me and don't tell me what to do.
No one
'Cause I'm
likes
gonna
going
do
to
the
events
opposite.
alone.
Right. Yeah. Cause I'm gonna bring a whole group now.
Yeah.
Everybody's coming.
I'm
We
like,
started it. Told me to do something. I'm going to do the opposite.
well, and I'm a person who, like I say, I can like walk into a room and converse with anybody.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I still don't want to
Right.
go by myself. Like I can, but I choose to actually not do that because then I'll spend most of the evening, wondering where I fit.
Right.
And I'd rather just walk in feeling really confident. And if that includes having someone beside me, then I'm going to do it.
Well, and you're going to something that you should enjoy.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
do it however it will be for you to enjoy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we're going to wrap up, which I hate.
hate
I
it
want to
too.
keep talking, and we're going to have you back. We've decided it's happening.
Yes.
But what we like to ask is, can you please tell our listeners one thing or multiple things that you're currently obsessed with?
Okay, the one thing I'm very obsessed with right now, this is a very interesting thing, it's not an item, is my coach has told me to celebrate myself a lot more.
I love that. Your coach is smart.
Yeah, she is. So I've been really doing that and really taking time every day to make sure that I note what I'm grateful for when I wake up and what I'm grateful for when I go to bed and make sure that it is about me.
That's the kicker. That it's about you. Okay.
Which is the hardest thing sometimes.
Yeah. But once you get in the practice of it,
Yeah.
does it flow easier?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
love
realize
that.
how much you do in a day and
Yes.
how much you give in a day and yeah.
That's
cool.
so good.
I love
really
that.
love that. Well, we're so happy that you were here.
Thank
We
you.
love that you're
Thank
just going to be
you.
like right down the street.
Oh,
we can
so
like meet for
excited.
lunch. And now you have to be our friend.
I know. It'll be great. I'm so excited.
Whether you want to or not.
It's too late. It's actually part of the contract you signed.
Yeah, actually,
you
it
will
was
be
there.
friends with us.
Fine print.
Forever.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, I'm on social media as the YXC Facialist. And then we have Be-Align Studios. And our studio is located in Saskatoon. But we will be moving down the street from here on Broadway, actually.
So excited.
That's the first time I've told people that.
I was sitting here and I was like, do you want to say it? Are you ready to say it? Because I'm
Yeah,
socially
we're ready.
Okay, amazing. Love
Yeah.
that.
so excited.
Yeah.
Please come back. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys so much.
You're such a
so
gem.
appreciate it.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of the Her Podcast. If you want to follow along with us, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at its.her.podcast. We can't wait to see you there.
Bye.
Adios.